Today's Ketchup brings you another 10 headlines from the world of film development news, covering such titles as The Lion King, Shazam, Star Wars Episode 9, and Quentin Tarantino's next film. This week's top story photo by Jason Smith. Everett Collection fans have known since this summer's San Diego Comic-Con that the DC Comics movie to start filming after Aquaman 122,118 would be Shazam. We thought for a time that Dwayne Johnson would appear in the film as anti-hero Black Adam, until DC's Jeff Johns revealed that wasn't the case, and we learned this week that comedy screenwriter Adam Sztykiel Alvin the Chipmunks The Road Chip, Diary of a Wimpy Kid The Long Haul will be adapting that film. All that said, we still didn't know who would star as Shazam, previously called Captain Marvel, which is a long story himself, or any other co-star for that matter. Armie Hammer was Dwayne Johnson's top pick, but as it turns out the role now belongs to Zachary Levi, who remains best known for starring as NBC's Chuck from 2007 to 2012. Shazam will be directed by David F. Sandberg. Lights Out, Annabelle creation, distributed by New Line Cinema probably sometime in 2019, and filming is scheduled to start in February. Mark Strong, who played Sinestro in 2011's Green Lantern, will also play the Shazam villain, Dr. Savannah, a sort of prototypical mad scientist type. We don't know yet who will play Billy Batson, the boy that actually turns into Shazam. Fresh developments. 1. Beyoncé, confirmed to play Nala in Disney's remake of The Lion King. Photo by New Line Cinema. Back in late March, reports surfaced that Walt Disney Pictures was hoping to cast Beyoncé as the voice of the lioness Nala in their upcoming remake of The Lion King 71,919, but those rumors were followed by months of silence. This week, Disney revealed the 14 main voice actors cast in The Lion King, and Beyoncé will indeed play Nala, joining previously cast actors Donald Glover Simba, Chiwetel Ejiofor Scar, Alfred Woodard Sarabi, Eric Andre Azizi, Keegan-Michael Key Kamari, John Oliver Zazu, Seth Rogen Pumbaa, Billy Eichner Timon, and James Earl Jones reprising his role as Mufasa. The Lion King will be directed by Jon Favreau, who is coming off Disney's Monsters G animated remake of The Jungle Book, and it's scheduled to open on July 19, 2019, which will give fans and Hollywood insiders alike time to discuss a key issue. Is a movie like The Lion King featuring only a cast of photorealistic CGI animals animated or live action too? Quentin Tarantino wants Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio for movie 9. Photo by Weinstein Company, Andrew Cooper. Weinstein Company. Following his departure from the Weinstein Company for obvious reasons, Quentin Tarantino is now looking for a new studio home for his 9th film. Executives from Paramount, Universal, and Warner Brothers were invited this week to Tarantino's agent's office to read his screenplay about the tragedy and cultural phenomenon of Charles Manson, his followers, and the famous victims of their cult violence. Tarantino currently does not appear to be considering offers from streaming sites like Amazon or Netflix. Tarantino reportedly wrote the Sharon Tate role with Margot Robbie in mind, and 3 of the other lead roles were written for Inglourious Basterds star Brad Pitt, Django Unchained co-star Leonardo DiCaprio, and frequent collaborator Samuel L. Jackson. Of course, none of those stars are signed yet. In other Leonardo DiCaprio news, his Appian Way production company this week secured the movie rights to Grant, about 18th President Ulysses S. Grant. 3. Creed 2 is the main event on 2018 calendar for MGM and Annapurna Pictures. Photo by Barry Wetcher. Warner Brothers. Since emerging from bankruptcy in 2010, the former Hollywood studio giant MGM has produced and released its films in various ways, usually through partnerships with other studios. This week, a new agreement was unveiled in which MGM and fledgling mini-studio Annapurna Pictures will partner on a new theatrical distributor called Mirror. The news came, however, with a release date, with one of MGM's partnerships with Warner Brothers tacked on. Sylvester Stallone's 5th Rocky film as director, Creed 2, starring Michael B. Jordan, will be released on November 21, 2018. Up Against Ralph breaks the internet record. Ralph 2, and Robert Zemeckis' Marwen Call remake, now called The Women of Marwen. MGM's films under Mirror will be the remakes of Death Wish 3218 and Valley Girl 62918, Fighting with My Family 91418, the Nazi hunting drama Operation Finale, the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels remake called Nasty Women, and the 25th James Bond. Annapurna's 2018 contributions will include Richard Linklater's Where'd You Go?, Bernadette, Barry Jenkins' If Beale Street Could Talk, and the untitled Dick Cheney biopic. 4. Julianne Moore to play feminist Gloria Steinem in My Life on the Road. Photo by Universal Pictures. June Pictures is a fairly new independent film production company that even people paid to know such things aren't all that familiar with yet. That's starting to change, however, as one of their first films, The Florida Project, was a hit at Cannes and has real chances in this year's upcoming award season. It's certified fresh at 95% on the tomato meter. Willem Dafoe starred in The Florida Project, and for their upcoming film called My Life on the Road, June Pictures has landed another multiple Academy Award nominee. Julianne Moore will star as iconic feminist activist Gloria Steinem in My Life on the Road, which is also described as being a coming-of-age story, suggesting that another younger actress or actresses will also play Steinem at earlier stages of her life. 5. Margot Robbie producing, and may star as, The Paper Bag Princess. Photo by Frank Mossy. Paramount Pictures. For every female box office success like Bridesmaids and Pitch Perfect, there are equally underperforming films like last year's Ghostbusters and, if estimates prove correct, this week's A Bad Moms Christmas. With gender equality issues and sexual misconduct allegations swirling through contemporary Hollywood, there's arguably a greater need now for quality entertainment produced, written by, directed by, and starring women. With that in mind, Universal Pictures has won a bidding war for the rights to the 1980 children's book The Paper Bag Princess by author Robert Munsch, which was rewarded an endorsement by the National Organization for Women. Margot Robbie is producing and is expected to star, with Elizabeth Banks. Pitch Perfect 2, the upcoming Charlie's Angels reboot, directing from a script by Katie Silberman. 6. Lupita Nyong'o and Josh Gad joined zombie comedy Little Monsters. Photo by Dieter Coney. Jason Smith Everett collection. Between the two of them, Lupita Nyong'o and Josh Gad have appeared in Frozen, The Book of Mormon, entries in the Marvel, Black Panther and Star Wars franchises, and 2 different Disney remakes of classic animated movies Beauty and the Beast, The Jungle Book. What you won't find in either of their Wikipedia pages, however, is any zombie movie whatsoever, yet. That's right, the voices behind Olaf and Maz Kanata may soon be screaming as they run away from brain-eating whites, because Josh Gad and Lupita Nyong'o have joined the zombie comedy Little Monsters. The movie is already in production in Australia, with Nyong'o cast as a kindergarten teacher, and Gad as kids' show personality Teddy McGiggle. Rotten Ideas of the Week. 3. Lucasfilm executive Kathleen Kennedy spoils the future of Star Wars. Photo by James Ito Everett collection. Beware Star Wars spoilers ahead. Obviously, this column is about the future of movies, so anything you read here could, in some ways, technically be considered a spoiler. And then, there are details, and honestly, these don't happen as often as you'd think, that are just straight-up spoilers by definition. Star Wars Episode 9 won't be released until over 2 years from now, 2019, but thanks to Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy, we already know 4 huge reveals about that movie and, for that matter, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Really, this story has 2 parts. The first, which is totally not a spoiler to anyone paying attention, is that Lucasfilm is already working on the next 10 years of Star Wars. Of course they are. But here's the especially spoilery part: future stories beyond Episode 9 with these new characters: Rey, Poe, Finn, BB-8. By inference, that means those 4 characters will survive both of the next 2 episode entries. Although critics love Star Wars, we're calling this story a rotten idea because, did we mention, spoilers? 2. Mel Gibson and Danny Glover are both too old for this. Lethal Weapon 5. Photo by Warner Brothers courtesy Everett collection. Next year will mark the 20th anniversary of lots of things, like Dawson's Creek, The Big Lebowski, and Metal Gear Solid, among others. 1998 was also the last time the Lethal Weapon franchise had a new feature film, Lethal Weapon 4, which saw franchise regulars Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, Joe Pesci, and Rene Russo joined by newcomers Jet Li and Chris Rock. Well, the Lethal Weapon TV series is apparently doing well enough that it hasn't been cancelled yet 2 seasons in, which is apparently getting old-school Lethal Weapon principals thinking about the good old days again. Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and director Richard Donner Superman the movie are reportedly now huddling on the possibility of doing another film. If Lethal Weapon 5 does move forward, the screenplay would reportedly be by Lethal Weapon 4 screenwriter Channing Gibson, whose last produced screenplay was the 2004 remake of Walking Tall starring Dwayne Johnson. Both Lethal Weapon 3 and Lethal Weapon 4 received Rotten Tomato meter scores. 1. Brett Ratner, the Hugh Hefner biopic, Rush Hour 4, and the Future of Warner Brothers. Photo by New Line Cinema courtesy Everett collection. On Wednesday, the news broke that 6 women had spoken out about sexual harassment or misconduct by film director and producer Brett Ratner. You can read more about these continuing developments at Deadline, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter. Ratner's alleged misconduct has an arguably broader impact on the business side of Hollywood than did Harvey Weinstein. Ratner's Rat Pack essentially puts up 25% of all of Warner Brothers Pictures in what was supposed to be a 75-movie deal, and Ratner himself until this week had a prolific slate as both a producer and director versus Weinstein, whose development slates have been slowing down for years. Warner Brothers is scrubbing the lot of Brett Ratner's involvement, and projects like Rush Hour 4 and the Hugh Hefner biopic are either dead or, if they ever move forward, would do so without Brett Ratner. Even so, as rotten as the impact of Ratner's behavior is, hopefully people will continue to speak out.